Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Wowhead's Downtime Tuesday. My name's Panzer, and today I'm going to be talking about the happenings of the past 2-ish weeks in the world of Warcraft. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you do, remember to rate it thumbs up. Last week I didn't make a Downtime Tuesday because instead I made a video called 39 Things About Legion, which was 39 things about the new World of Warcraft expansion Legion. I just kind of talked about all the things you really need to know about Legion. So if you missed it, I'll have it annotated right here, linked in the description below. If you already watched it, thank you so much for all the comments and likes and views and supports and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get right into the news. First up, with live server stuff, you may have noticed last week that the character transfer gold limit was upped from 50,000 gold to 250,000 gold, but don't get too excited because it seems like that has already been reverted back to 50,000 gold because of some sort of bug. I don't know what the bug was, but this is how I imagine it going in my head. So yeah, we just got a ticket that somebody transferred over from Turalon to Rune Totem with 250,000 gold, and when they got there, they only had 250 gold. I don't want to deal with this. Alternatively, hi, yeah, this is Becky in the auditing department, and I noticed a big irregularity. On Thursday, we had a player transfer from Stormreaver over to Kill Jaden with 250,000 gold, but when they arrived at their destination realm, they had 250 million gold, and I was just wondering who's going to tell them they can't keep it. Either way, once the bug is corrected, Blizzard said that they would be going back to the 250,000 gold character transfer limit. So if you're planning on transferring anytime soon and you have a lot of gold, it's probably worth waiting a little while because then you can bring more gold with you. Yay. On to Legion stuff. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the Great Water Strider controversy of 2016. I wish I was kidding, but that actually is a thing. If you haven't heard about it, the TLDR of the situation is that in the latest Legion build, Blizzard deactivated Water Striders from anywhere where they weren't earned. So the blue Water Strider only worked in Pandaria, and the red Water Strider only worked in Draenor, and people were so upset about this. And rightfully so. I mean, those mounts are really hard to earn to not be able to use them in Old World or on any of your alts. In fact, the outrage was so intense that Blizzard actually addressed the situation the very next day. First, they explained why they did it, and then they explained how they're going to correct the situation based on player feedback. So basically, what Blizzard said was that they wanted players to use mounts based on what their aesthetic favorite mount was, not because of the functionality that it provided. And because there would be some way in Legion to earn water walking on any mount that you want, they didn't think it would be a huge deal to remove water walking from the old water walking mounts. And they were very, very wrong. People were very, very upset about this. So in the next Legion build, Blizzard will be reinstating Water Striders to be able to walk on water and be usable anywhere except the new Legion content of the Broken Isles, and that is assumedly because there will be some way to earn water walking on, it might be a buff, it might be the mount of your choice. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a fishing artifact trait or some sort of like fishing perk. I don't know, but I kind of think we'll be able to walk on water on any mount we want, and it kind of sucks that we won't be able to use it initially until we earn it, but I'm okay with it because I'm going to pick the most ridiculous mount to walk on water with, like the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth. Jesus Mammoth. Next up, let's chat a little bit about glyphs, because glyphs are going to be very different in Legion. In fact, there's not going to be any major glyphs at all. Any important functionality that was involved with a major glyph has been baked directly into your abilities. Minor glyphs are seeing some changes as well. There will no longer be a limit of 3 minor cosmetic glyphs. You'll be able to use as many as you want, except that you cannot use 2 glyphs on the same spell. You can only use 1 glyph per spell, which immediately made me think of Druid Travel Form, because I want to be a real fast cheetah, Blizzard. Why can't I be a real fast cheetah? Anyways, some of the minor glyphs are not going to be glyphs at all. Instead, they'll be tomes, which you permanently learn, or toys that you can use whenever you feel like. Plus, there's going to be a bunch of new glyphs. If you want to read more about this and see which glyphs are specifically becoming tomes or toys, or seeing which new minor glyphs are being added, check out the links in the info below. And last up today, let's talk about the big hot topic in the World of Warcraft community, and that is Legendaries in Legion. Now, if you haven't heard by now, Legendaries in Legion are not going to work like any Legendaries we've ever seen in game before. Of course, in like early WoW, all the Legendaries were really rare drops off of end game raid bosses. Then we transitioned into this really long quest line that generally only 1 or 2 people in an entire guild would do the quest and get the Legendary. And then by Mist of Pandaria, there were quest lines that everyone could participate in and everyone could get Legendaries. Well, in Legion, Legendaries are going to be very, very rare world drops, and there are already over 100 of them in the data. And the Legendaries that are in the data are like game-changing pieces of gear or weapons or whatever, but they will actually change the playstyle for whoever gets them if they choose to use them, because they're not just going to be like, oh, it's additional stats. They're going to be effects similar to those from like the Archimon trinket or even like a 4-piece set bonus. Here's a couple examples. There's a hunter helmet with an equip on it that makes it so that when you use Feigned Death, you'll be healed for 20%, plus an additional 20% for every second that Feigned Death is active. There's a warrior ring with an equip on it that allows you to use executes on targets with 35% health or less. And one of the biggest standouts for me was a pair of paladin gloves that reduce the cooldown of lay on hands by 70%. With the talent, this potentially takes lay on hands from a 10-minute cooldown to a 1.5-minute cooldown. What the heck? And because we are part of the World of Warcraft community, as you probably guessed, people reacted to these Legendaries with outrage. There was a substantial amount of negative feedback that this would be a nightmare for raiders, that it would be impossible to balance, that it would be totally unfair, that it would add way too much RNG to the game, and basically that it would just be anti-fun and that people cannot believe that Blizzard is even allowing this system to be part of World of Warcraft. And before we get too worked up, I want to go over some of the developer responses to this feedback. Now, according to World of Warcraft developers, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind before we emotionally react to Legendaries. And the big one is that we are still in the Legion Alpha. We're not even in beta yet. This is Alpha. There's plenty of time to tune things and tweak things and balance things and mess around with numbers and even go as far as to remove things that are unbalanced or anti-fun. And they will do that if it is needed. Legion Legendaries are a throwback to early WoW, and I feel like people are constantly asking for the game to be more like early WoW, and this is a situation where they are doing that. Back in vanilla, to get a hand of Edward the Odd was like the best thing ever. It was like winning the lottery. It was so exciting and so fun, and you don't really have that experience anymore. Over the years, WoW loot has become more and more streamlined, and it really has been at the expense of excitement. They want people to be excited that they got a new piece of loot and have it be this, you know, this really grand thing, like, oh, I got new loot, this is so awesome. Not just like, oh, I got a bracer upgrade, yay, 15 more intellect. Loot like Legion Legendaries is a lot more fun and exciting and rewarding than just like a stat upgrade. One of the comparisons they used was Archimon trinkets, because when you got your Archimon trinket, there was a thought of how you would play your character differently now that you got this proc that did whatever it did. And that's kind of what every Legion Legendary does, and it adds a lot of variety and creativity and just sort of like fun to the game. Developers have already taken a few steps to ensure that Legendaries will not affect the balance of raids, or at least not significantly affect the balance of raids. The first one being that players will only be able to equip one Legendary at a time in the beginning of the expansion, so somebody who is very lucky will not be substantially more powerful than someone who is maybe not so lucky. The other thing they're talking about doing is adding a buff in Mythic level rating that will actually disable Legendaries, so that when those really high-end guilds are like racing through Mythic content at the beginning of a tier, that one guild having better luck than another guild is not going to impact that race and that competitive nature to clearing Mythic content, at least at the beginning. So I really want to tell you guys my feelings on Legion Legendaries, and I actually already recorded this video once, but I had some camera issues and I ended up having to refilm it, but I have the audio and I feel like I stated it pretty well the first time around. So I'm going to insert an audio clip of me explaining my feelings on Legion Legendaries, because I don't know that I could get it out as organically and as sincerely as I did the first time, so I'm not even going to try. Here it is. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about my feelings on this because I am an outsider. A lot of people are currently really against Legendaries. They think it's going to make the game totally imbalanced and unfair, and I am definitely coming from an optimistic standpoint. I think I didn't like my trinket from Archimonde, and I still think the Archimonde trinkets are really neat because they encourage you to play your character a little bit differently. It's the same thing with like a set bonus on tier gear. They encourage you to play your character differently than you may have before. My rotation changed between, you know, Blackrock Foundry tier and Hellfire Citadel tier because of the way my 4-piece set bonus worked. I tried out the Archimonde trinket for a little while. I didn't personally like it, but that doesn't mean that other people aren't using it, and I like that variety in games. I think that's fun. I think building your character in a way that works for you is fun. Does that mean that I'm always on par with like super high-end, super like best in the world raiders? Not necessarily. I am a resto shaman that's building haste and not mastery, so but it's what works for me. My guild is 10 out of 13 mythic. We have a lot of fun raiding though. I mean, I don't log on to WoW to say, okay, I need to get the best in slot everything today or else I've wasted my time. I log on to like play with my friends and slay dragons and you know, those interactions with people, and I really enjoy the game and the art and the story and the environment. And for me, Legendaries seem like a whole lot of fun. I love that there's going to be different builds, and you know there's going to be all these theory crafters that come out and they're going to argue about which legendary is the best and what type of gameplay each legendary will provide. And I see this as such a cool throwback to what I used to really love about WoW, particularly in Burning Crusade, when you'd see, you know, Palm Pyro mages and these crazy hybrid specs. And I feel like those types of players, while sometimes people looked at them like, what are they doing? They're not following the cookie cutter norm. There was still this like sense of respect of the individuality and the creativity and like, is this gonna work? Kind of theory to the whole thing. And while I can see the viewpoint of this is going to ruin raids, maybe at a very high level, like a very, very high level, maybe it will become problematic at some point. But I also think that those raiders are going to be the ones who have cleared the content before legendaries are even available anyways. And I just think that it could make the game a lot more fun for the rest of us. I think the idea of getting a legendary, like, example, Overwatch right now, you can get legendary loot crates. I am level 41, and I've only gotten two, because I got another one. I've gotten 2 legendary loot crates, and it is so exciting to get something awesome like that, to be like, oh, it's orange, what's inside of it, it's orange. And maybe I'm like a little squirrel with like squirrel ADD, like, oh, shiny, but like, I can like sense the excitement I'm going to feel when I get my first legendary. And if they're as rare as they say they are, that means I'm going to be that excited when I get my second legendary. And am I going to rebuild everything because that one's going to be so different and better? Maybe it's not the best thing to do, but you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to try it. So I guess being the outsider in this situation, I definitely value fun more than balance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I do want to hear your opinions. I mean, you guys know I'm excited for Legendaries. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to add a lot of variety to the game. I think it's a big incentive to get people out and doing their dailies and doing dungeons and just playing more because they have this chance to get something awesome all the time. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for Legion Legendaries? Do you think it's going to be something fun and like this really cool new element to the game? Or do you think it's like Imba, worst thing ever, like ruining everything, down with oranges? Let me know in the comment section below, and when you think about your answer, check out our answers to last week's question. And that's it for today's episode of Wowhead's Downtime Tuesday. My name is Panzer and my YouTube channel is TradeChat. If you enjoyed the video, please thumb it up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and answer our question in the comment section below. Be sure to check back next Tuesday and every Tuesday for future episodes of Downtime Tuesday because it's Tuesday, and also to see if your comment is in our featured section. As always, if you want to learn more about anything I talked about today, there will be links in the information below. I'm going to go. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I love you all. You're in my hearts. I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.